What's up, everybody? Welcome to Picture Lock, where we focus on film. I'm Kevin Sampson, and golly, it's been a hot minute, but I'm back with a different format to talk about the movies we love. Out this weekend, Creed 3 hits theaters. Does it punch as well as the two films that preceded it? That's a question that I and my guest, Felipe Patterson of Taji Mag, are going to answer. Felipe, what's good, man?
On. How are you?
I'm doing pretty well, man. I appreciate you coming on and, just helping me to talk about Creed 3. For those that don't know you, could you tell us a little bit about yourself and how long you've been a critic?
I'm a film critic and lead contributor to Taji Magazine. I've been reviewing films and critiquing films since about 2019. Um, I just love film. One of the things that made me fall in love with the films are the movies Her and Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, and also She's Gotta Have It. So I like films that make you feel something. And with film, it always takes you away for a couple of hours, no matter what stressors, no matter what situation that you're in. Um, Films help you escape, and they tap into you emotionally and give you some type of connection to it. So that's the reason why I love film. And that's the reason why I've been reviewing films as well, to make sure that one, people are not wasting their time, and two, giving exposure to films that you may not watch normally. I mean, we get commercials about films that are big blockbuster hits, but there's films out there that are really, really good. That are in the film festival circuit that you may not particularly be introduced to, but I want to be able to be that gateway to introduce you to it. So that's pretty much it. I mean, I just love film.
I love it, man. Spoken like a real critic at heart. I love talking about like what your favorite films are, because I feel like it always tells a lot about a person. But like She's Gotta Have It plus Eternal Sunshine, like that lets me know that you like an art house film, and then you like a film that's for the people. So that's really cool, man. All right, so listen, Creed 3 is out this weekend. After dominating the boxing world, Adonis Creed, played by Michael B. Jordan, has been thriving in both his career and family life when childhood friend and former boxing prodigy Damien, played by Jonathan Majors, resurfaces. After serving a long sentence in prison, he is eager to prove that he deserves his shot in the ring. The face-off between former friends is more than just a fight. To settle the score, Adonis must put his future on the line to battle Damien, a fighter who has nothing to lose. Now, Felipe and I have both had the pleasure of seeing the film, so this is what we're going to do. We're going to talk about it spoiler free, and then we're going to give you a warning, and we're going to just get into the spoilers. But let's go ahead and jump in, Felipe, man. What was your initial reaction to Creed 3?
Well, to me, it just was impressive as a sequel. It could actually be standalone. I mean, if you go into the film without seeing the first one, you're not really missing anything. They do a good job of making it um, a good film, and not just a spinoff. Especially, I'll put it this way: it serves as a origin for Adonis Creed, and it also just it sheds light on what the world of Rocky is about. That's why I felt I came away with it. It's a origin film with the elements of Rocky, with fingerprints from Mr. Ryan Coogler in it as well.
Yeah, man, I'm with you on that. In my review, one of the things that I was saying is that in the Bible, Yah speaks to Elijah not in the earthquake or the fire, but in a whisper. And I felt like this is what this movie is. It's not about the match. It's like that action and fighting, like that part is great. That's what we'd expect from, a Creed film. And it's not about that. The message is really in the quiet moments, and that's the thing that going back to Rocky was always a drama with boxing as kind of the backdrop, that engine. And that has taken place with Creed as well. I like how you said that this film is kind of Adonis's, it gives a little more of his backstory, because when he did come on the scene, it was like we already caught him, and he was like, hot. He was ready to fight anything. He's going Uncle Rocky to get some tutelage in the first film. But here we really get to, I think one of the things they talk about is how he punches hard. And here we get to figure out why that is. And I really enjoyed how they really pieced that together.
Me as well. This movie just has so many underlying elements that I think would benefit everyone. And I think I was at the press conference yesterday, virtually, of course, and they talked about how, yes, it's a boxing film, but it's more about the mental aspect and the trauma that each individual experienced and how they dealt with it. So, yeah, I mean, this is great storytelling. I mean, to me, I know like it's produced by Ryan Coogler, but in my review, I talked about how it's kind of like Ryan Coogler has laid the blueprint for developing characters. I don't know if you remember with Black Panther how they made Killmonger so compelling, they had to rewrite Black Panther's part. So I think with this film, you can see like he has a knack for developing characters, because with Damon, you really can't you want to root against him and he makes you hate him, but also he's compelling. You know why he's doing it. You kind of want to like give him a hug in a sense. And they said that in the press conference, like Teresa has said that like, yeah, I don't like him, I hate him, but you understand, you sympathize with him, and he kind of reflects, or he kind of embodies what some Black men are going through now, like when they get trapped in the system. It's their product of their environment. And so I just give kudos to the writers, Zach Balin and Keenan Coogler, for just making these compelling characters and making a story outside of just the world of boxing, and really getting to see what their family life is like, and what their mind, what their mental state is, at different stages of throughout the course of the film. So that's why I really paid attention to.
Yeah, most definitely, man. And so you talk a little bit about the writing. I want to talk about the acting. Jonathan Majors is a force to be reckoned with. Now, I have enjoyed him since The Last Black Man in San Francisco. When I saw that the ending one man play that he put on in the end of that film, I was just like, wow, this is gonna be a dude to watch. And obviously he's kind of on fire right now, being an Ant-Man, Kang performance, now Creed 3. But what I really, really loved about his performance in this is his physicality, right? One of the things that really can kind of separate is the fact that he reminded me of Mike Tyson, and you were at the press conference. I'm not sure if he talked about this, but it looks like he studied a bunch of Mike Tyson film, and I'm talking about in the ring and outside the ring, and just kind of how he carried himself. But then he brought like that Oakland vibe to it that is in all of Coogler's movies and all that good stuff. And he created his own character, where to me, a part of the reason that is so compelling, a part of the reason, because you always have to have a really good villain, right? You got to have somebody that it looks like, all right, Adonis, Rocky, is gonna get toe up. And you get that with him. Obviously he's cut up from the flow up, right now. He's probably in the best shape of his life, but I just felt as though the physicality that he embodied it's not just about his body being in shape, but his mind also being jacked up after being in prison for, I think it was about 18 years. And any of the things that like he had dealt with prior to prison, you see that physically manifest in the way that he moves. Even though there is a certain amount of swag because he has nothing to lose, there is also a certain amount of baggage that I think he carries physically with him, and you hear it in his speech, and you see it in the way that he looks around in the world, and you see even over the course of the film, like that kind of changes. So I mean, I definitely think that in terms of, and I'll definitely hand it over to you, but you know, Tessa Thompson and Michael B. Jordan, I love their chemistry in this film. They feel like a real couple, lived in, like they've been doing this for years. Like they have a daughter who uses sign language, and they have as a family really adapted to it. So that part felt real, but I definitely felt like you know, it's all about Majors kind of in this film in terms of the acting, that I was just like blown away by. But what are your thoughts?
I mean, no doubt. Like Jonathan Majors dominated. And as you, I did watch Last Black Man in San Francisco and said this guy's gonna be a star, which is actually why I got to interview him twice early on. So I'm like, before you blow up, let me get my 2 interviews in. I got to interview him twice for Lovecraft Country, but you can definitely tell like he was definitely he had this bravado, this brute force about him. And they actually talked about in the press conference how he was inspired by not only he watched a lot of Jonathan B. Jordan's film, Adonis's films, to get ready, but he was inspired by his stepfather who had served 15 years in prison before he met his
Mm.
mom. And so he watched him grind and mature and grow and just have that hunger and passion inside him, but still carry some of that prison life with him. So he said that that was a very good inspiration. He actually said that he actually tried it for the Cowboys, and almost it was almost a walk on. He had gotten to the second round but got cut. There was also a gentleman that they knew that he was introduced to through the Kuglers who had served, and he said he had watched the way he stood, he had watched the way he walked, and just it was like an amalgamation of characters that or people that he knew that made him create this character, and you definitely could feel it. Like you know, from the time he's introduced on the page after he gets out of prison, you can tell like, hey, this guy's about something. He's legit, and you know, and it wasn't corny as you've seen in movies where it's just like, oh, he's trying to be hard. It was, you know, he has his passion, he has his drive, and he was quiet a lot of times. You know what I mean? And just like he had his focus, he was laser focused. So I wasn't surprised by his performance because, as you know and I know, he's always going to perform no matter what. I won't mention no movies, but he takes over any movie that he's in.
Yeah, yeah. Basically.
Yeah.
All right. So before we get into the spoiler territory, one thing, this is Michael B. Jordan's directorial debut. I'll let you go first, man. What did you think about Michael B. Jordan and just stepping into that role?
I would say he did a good job. I was actually surprised, especially with the moments of action. It made me be a part of that world. It made me feel like I was in that. The sound design and the direction made me feel as if I was part of the fight. There's moments where the boxer sees an opening and the camera pans to it, and it's not like in a cheesy, corny way. It's like, hey, he sees an opening, he's going to go for it. And you know, there's scenes where there's wide pan shots where it doesn't feel like it's random. It feels like it fits the tone. I won't talk about any spoilers. I'll wait. But
Yeah.
there's moments where he does take advantage of the camera in the moment that I was really impressed with, and I was like, that's kind of cool. And especially when the third act comes around and it gets to where him and Jonathan Majors are fighting, that I really, really saw that he has a very good eye as a director, and I look forward to seeing some more of his work.
Yeah, man, I'd agree with you. I definitely felt as though um, here is a debut of someone who's been waiting for a while, but somebody that has also been in front of the camera for a while as well. When the film first started, just in terms of the way that it was shot, I automatically kind of thought about Raging Bull, right? And Raging Bull being one of those films where Marty Scorsese, I don't know him like that, so Mr. Scorsese, he really kind of showed boxing in a different way, and there was this lyrical, beautiful dance with the camera, and here I feel as though Jordan really understood that the camera is going to tell this story, right? Where we're looking, what we're looking at, and then also the editing, right? And so I think that, as you stated, I think a lot of the boxing choreography, it didn't feel like a novice. It didn't feel like a first timer. It felt like somebody that really had control of it. And just the rest of the film, it was beautifully shot. It was well done. So I definitely feel like it was one of those things where it's like, all right, let's see what else you can do. What other kind of stories you could tell. But I'm with you on that, man. Especially in those boxing scenes, that was really where you as the viewer felt like you were in it. And I think sometimes like that's the beauty of a Rocky movie, of a Creed film, is that you feel as though this must be what it's like to box. I don't know what it's like to box. I haven't boxed before. But you felt like you were in there with their mental state. So that was really dope.
Yeah. One of my fears was watching a boxing film like this magnitude and him being a first time director is the shaky cam. You know what I mean? How it's like shake. You're just like, what am I looking at? I'm
Right.
sure you're trying to give us the effect of us being there, but it's not helping us. But like as you said, like it's well shot.
Yeah, most definitely. All right, so ladies and gentlemen, right now we got to talk a little bit about spoilers, but really I don't think like I mean, this is a Creed movie. It's based off of kind of the Rocky lore, so you know what's gonna happen, right? But the question is, how are we gonna get there? So right now, if you have not seen Creed 3, this is the time to separate yourself, push pause, make sure you come back, watch the rest of this YouTube video, push pause, wait to finish the podcast, but definitely come back. Now we are talking spoilers. All right. So, overall, like I gotta confess, this movie, I think it's just where I am in life. Um, it spoke to me in the same way that Black Panther did. Like I was crying in this movie. And I think that there was something about the fact that this was made really by Black men. And I feel like it was also for Black men. Now, it's universal in its nature. Anyone can relate to this story. But the story of overcoming past trauma, past hurts, and actually talking about it, right? Like for me, therapy is something that I just got into in the past couple of years. And it's like everyone says, once you start it, you wish you'd started it earlier, right? And so I felt like this movie really addressed talking about past hurt, getting it out there, and that it's okay to do it. Now, the beauty of that is that this is a warrior film, if you will. It's man versus man, right? And Adonis and Damon both have, something that they're bringing to the table in terms of past hurt, and they actually both know each other's struggle. And so the both of those things kind of meeting, it really just touched me. I think also his daughter, I have a daughter that's, 10, son that's 8, and she looked like she could probably be more like 7 or 8. But just that interaction, the family bonding, but then also the struggle of like, how are you a parent at school, and how do you show up, and you do have some of this rage inside, but that's not the best way to handle this situation, right? Making smart decisions. I think that was something that really, really spoke to me. And I know like we're kind of moving into the film, but for me, this movie, like I was like, yo, it touched me on a different level. And I look forward to like maybe a few months from now, maybe when the Blu-ray comes out, watching it, see if it the same thing. But for me, at least, I really, really enjoyed this movie. Philippe, what about you?
I mean, I completely agree. That's the first thing that came to my mind after I finished watching it. I'm like, this is like this is a movie about male trauma and dealing with it and coming to face with it because we don't like going to therapy. Me myself, I've had therapy for several years. I've done it for the past 10 years, and so I wanted to break. I wanted to break some type of some generational curses in a sense. Nothing bad. It's just being able to open up, and I think this film really explores that, and it does touch on parenting, not only Adonis's relationship with his daughter, but also his relationship with his mother, and that to me was like a big thing as well. Like, parents aren't perfect. They try their best to
Yeah.
raise you, so, for the best, but sometimes it's kind of messed up. But one of the things I had learned, therapy and just life is like your parents aren't perfect. They were born babies. They didn't come with a blueprint, so they're doing the best they can, and you have to forgive them for any type of issues or mistakes they make because you're going to make mistakes. And so to see that in this film was also phenomenal. So it just opened up a whole new. To me, I concentrated in my review about character depth, in this film of black characters, and it's just there's no really evil, like straight out evil people in this film. These are just real people having real issues, dealing with them in the best way they know how. And I just think that it was a good film to share with your family outside of some of the brutal punches and everything else. Because I mean, we really got to see Adonis go through growth um, throughout this film. Even though it's like 2 hours long, you saw some growth with him throughout this film, and a reflection as well. Because when you see his daughter, you know, punch somebody out, he has to think about his actions going forward and understand why he's so angry about everything. And then trying to convey that to Damien, and Damien has to embrace it. He's just always just fighting everything. So it just, I agree with you. It's a movie about black men, and men, and addressing their issues and therapy and male trauma and masculinity, and it connected with me as well. I think we've talked about this, about how some films don't make it because they don't connect with a certain demographic. But
Right.
this film, if you really pay attention to it, it can connect with you because these are not only just black men. These are men. These are fathers. These are brothers. These are sons, and it just really touched me in that. And then don't get me started on the little girl. Like, she just broke my heart. She was so adorable, man. I was like, oh man.
Yeah. She was, man. And I love the fact that you brought up the part with just in terms of our parents and how we have to learn to forgive anything, well, not any and everything, right? Because there's nuance there. There's some parents that they've done some atrocious things to their kids,
Yeah.
but if you were lucky to have even great parents, like there was still some kind of shortcoming that they had.
Hmm.
And you have to be able to, as you said, understand that, hey, they came into the world just like you did as a baby. Nobody has like a parenting, this is the proper way to do it and everything will work out, right?
Yeah.
And not only that, like sometimes they're dealing with their trauma.
Hmm.
And in this film, Adonis's mom, Felicia Rashad, she had to deal with Apollo and what Apollo did to her and all that kind of stuff. And so also making the best decisions at the time for Adonis and his relationship with Damon. So yeah, man, I thought that was handled well. And I think one of the things that you had said as well is just character depth. Again, it goes back to the writing. When you are able to write characters in a great way, it's universal, right? The story is like anybody, you could plug anybody into it, right? Any actor into it, and it's gonna work. And so, but at the same time, I just felt like there was definitely something there in terms of the way that like Tessa Thompson would talk to Adonis, right? Like it's of our culture, if
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
will. And that beauty of their relationship, right, where she was able to kind of bring the best out of him. And I think even within their relationship, right, like Adonis has obviously been the star in front of the world, but for her dealing with her hearing loss and at some point, which is interesting because Damon really kind of comes in and he's kind of
Yeah.
like the serpent in the garden, and he's like,
Yeah.
yeah, so how did you really feel about writing for other people and them singing your songs? You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
he's pitching these questions that are true, and I think sometimes what we do is we feel that, right? It sucks. I wanted to sing this song, but then you got to move forward and you don't want to dwell on it. But then when you do have to think about it again, that can make you move in a certain way. And I think that that was what was great about this film in terms of having Adonis kind of have to face his past and why does he punch so hard. And it was beautifully executed in that final fight, right? And the way that, because we're in spoiler territory, so the way that, you know, they used the pillow from when they were in the boys, the group home, the way that they used the jail cell, it was just, it was well done. And as you kept saying, like, it wasn't cheesy. Like, we knew it was green screen, but the messaging was, it trumped any portion that you had to put aside, you know, your belief of this is what's actually happening, but it trumped it because the story was really, it was moving.
I mean, because it was going on, what was going on in their minds, and I can imagine, you know, fighting against your friend for years, you know, that you had experience with, and trying to not only focus on your, you know, him as an opponent, but you know, your past, and that's what they were both seeing. It was kind of cool. They were switching back and forth, seeing each other as little boys, and you know, that's something I thought was kind of cool. And as you said, like the pillow and the jail cell, and I was just like, this is not cheese to me because this is what's on their mind. This is going on right now, real time. And the fact that they were shot as if with the crowd, you know, from deleted from the screen, made me really appreciate that because they have to really focus on key on their opponent, their brother, and it's hard. And you see not only just the way they were shot, but the acting as well. Their body language changed throughout the film. I don't know. Well, you remember this where they were, you know, they were tied up, and it's like they were hugging each other, like, I don't want to do this to you. I forgive you. And it says so much, and they're such great actors. You can see it in their body language that they were really saying, like, I don't want to do this. I'm sorry. And I don't know if I think it was intended to display that because they were holding for a long time. And the way they were positioned was just like, I love you. I don't want to do this.
Yeah. You know, and you see this in the trailer, but you know, when Tessa's character says, you know, well then well, I guess Adonis was like, you know, he's not gonna stop, and then she's like, well, you make him stop, and that was the thing. It's like he's the type of dude that you have to make him stop, and not only that, like, you can't do that like legally, right? Yeah. If you get a cease and desist order, that don't matter to him, right? You have to stop him in the ring. You got to earn his respect, and that's one thing that I love. You know, after all was said and done, the conversation that they had afterwards, where you're just able to sit next to each other, and you could tell that, hey, like, all right, bygones are bygones, we still gonna be cool. I'll see you at the barbecue, but it wasn't on you, dude, and it wasn't on me, and let's just move forward. Let's letting go of all that trauma. So that was really dope. I really enjoyed that.
But you know what I'm afraid of, Kevin? I'm afraid that some critics might look at that and be like, well, that was like a cheesy way of ending it, or anticlimactic way of ending it. But to me, I'm just like, well, I think, like, as you mentioned before, when you have a connection to something like that, like, that's what really happens. Like, you fight, we fight if we have disagreement, and then we're cool because we got it out. We got it out there.
Right.
When after the movie, and I was like, somebody's gonna say something about the ending and say that it was incomplete or non-factual, and it's gonna boil my blood. That's why I haven't any reviews yet, because I'm like, there's gonna be a lot of people who aren't gonna be able to connect with this film, but many will be able to.
Yeah, definitely, and I think so. There's a moment where smartly the camera is placed where you have the tunnel out, and then you have the locker room, and on one side Michael B. Jordan is on that side, and then Jonathan Majors is on the other, and that was at one point during the film. But here it's like they both sit next to each other. Now I need to watch it again, but I'm pretty sure that there's a dividing line of where they were sitting, right? But then by the time it ended, you know, they've kind of crossed those lines. So that's kind of the art behind the filmmaking. But it just goes into like, all right, at one point, just like you and I are right now, like we're separated by this divided line, and then like now they've had it out, they've hashed it out. That was we said all we needed to say in the ring, right? I'm tough, you're tough. I got a bone to pick with you. But now that that's over, like let's really just talk. And I think that that it was, I think it was well done. That was my opinion, though.
I want to bring up forgiveness. I mean, just think about how much he forgave Apollo. I mean, when you look at his house, there's a room with a big painting of Adonis Creed in it, and so and then there it was well. I know he did this on purpose. There's multiple shots where you see him standing in front of Apollo Creed, and then you see Damien standing instead of the same picture, and so it's just like, man, these are just this is basically saying like they're standing on the shoulders of this black man, and also Creed has Adonis Creed has forgiven Apollo Creed, and so there were just so many like Easter eggs that I was just like, this was a passion project. This wasn't just like a regular movie. Because all the stuff I'm seeing, I'm like picking this out and that out. So
Yeah, and that's kind of the fun of it, for sure. But what I'm grateful for is with each film in the Creed franchise, like it's not. I feel as though there hasn't been anything throwaway like Rocky 5, right? Like Rocky 5 is like what was going on there? Like I don't know, that was a money grab, you know what I mean? Like we weren't critics back then, but like that everyone is pushing the character forward, pushing the lore forward. And who knows, maybe we're about to get I don't know. What do you think? But I think the daughter. We might eventually see her and doing a film and kind of like a Layla Ali. So we'll see.
You said that, 'cause I mentioned it in my article. I mean, my review about how I would love to see the franchise go into, or just like a little standalone with her being a boxer, because that would be a great project to develop. Her being hearing impaired, and her, growing into a woman as well, learning how to fight. I mean, there's so much you can use out of that story. You know what I mean? But it has to be the right person to do so. And let me give a shout out to them creating this world where ASL, hearing impaired, is just organically a part of this environment. It's nothing forced. It's everything's was they pay attention to every detail. I mean, I even saw where they, where the doorbell rings and the lights were flashed. I'm like, they made everything like, real life. It wasn't forced or, camp or anything like that. Everything was just easy to watch. So let's give it up for that. Cause I mean, that's to me, that's a big thing when you represent a small community and you do it well. You pay attention to every single detail. It's not just like they're just thrown in there. In other films.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I think that was something where, and what I love about great directors, great writing, is when they expect us to catch up instead of like feeding it to us. And so little things like that right there, which you talked about when the doorbell rang and the lights flash, like these are things that it's like, oh, if you're not paying attention, like you might be like, what was that? Like, but they didn't really explain that to us. We just understand that, hey, that is a part of this family and their environment. All right. Let's go ahead and wrap things up. I definitely would say go see this. For me personally, and again, this is when film kind of gets subjective. I gave it an A. I really enjoyed it, but it spoke to me in such a way where like this is just hands down. You got to go check it out. And what about you? What did you think?
Yeah, like in my article, I said, hey, it's highly recommendable. It's a rewatch. That's actually a film that you could, you mentioned before, like bring home to the family and watch together. When you're sitting on a Sunday or Saturday afternoon, there's nothing to watch. Just sit there and watch it. Because I mean, even though, like I said, the fight scenes were kind of brutal, and the stories is still important there. And I think for it to be a big box office movie, it does a good job of representing a black family and also normalizing vulnerability. So I just love this film. Point blank.
Felipe Patterson from Taji Mag, brother, if you could, how can people follow you, find your work online?
Well, you can find my work on tajimag.com, or if you go to Instagram, you can look up Taji Mag magazine, and you'll find me sometimes on there. My Instagram handle is F Dapper Dapper Dr. You can find me on there. So F Dapper Doctor. I'll also write sometimes for a little platform called the Water Cooler HQ. So if you look at Water Cooler HQ, you'll find some of my work there. But most of the time, I'm on Instagram on F Dapper Doctor. You can check me out there and give me a shout if you want. And if you just read my films, everything's subjective.
That's what's up, man. Well, I appreciate you coming on the show to talk to me today, man. This has been fun. All right, everybody. Picture Lock Show. We're back at it. Everything on social media is at Picture Lock Show. Make sure that you check out the film reviews in written format at picturelockshow.com. Looking forward to the next review. Make sure you go see Creed 3. I definitely think you're going to enjoy it. All right. Until next time. Peace.